Oh, that's a nice start. Okay, great. So, everyone, this is episode 5. And today we're going to talk about Ethereum 2.0. You might have seen the thumbnail, of course. Last week we missed this session because I was not feeling well. So, we decided to have it when I'm comfortable, when I'm all okay. I'm not completely okay as of now, but yeah, I can take a session. At least 1 hour is good to go. And of course, Pranav is the main speaker, so I don't have to worry much about that. Okay, great. So we have Pranav here who will be guiding us through Ethereum 2.0. I know I'm waiting for it from a long time to get working on 2.0, but I think it's still not there. But yeah, it shows a good promise. And let's see what is there for us in Ethereum 2.0. So Pranav, all set?
All set. I would
Great.
love to start the session by a very good news. It's always that, whenever you are believing in something and there are other things like other signals which also signal the same thing, then your belief increases, right? Normally,
Right.
when in 2017, when there was a big hype, people and then it went down. There were no signals till a very long time, till Michael Sayer bought Bitcoin and, made his company MicroStrategies also get into it. There were not many signals, despite the technology being great, decentralized being a part, Web 3.0, trying to be the future with its ownership economy and things like that. But now, since every week we get lots and lots of what we call as news and signals, which do indicate also increase our belief in what we are doing is what might be and what should be the future of how web communicates, web eventually turns out to be. And one particular such great news is that many people who were pioneers of web 1 and also pioneers of web 2, what that means is the people who actually were the ones who made the web 2 what it is right now, are pivoting their models or are leaving their current jobs, like high paying CEO CTO kind of jobs, to get into web 3. To start with, we can say Jack left Twitter as the CEO, still works in Stripe, and he's building a mining range, like a distributed decentralized mining range, kind of network for Bitcoin, right? He also in Bitcoin Miami, he also told that if required, I'll leave my Twitter position and work for Bitcoin, because it is more than what Twitter can give to the world. It is much more than that. So Jack Dorsey left Twitter and right now is fully scoped towards making Bitcoin great and Web3 and the future of digital gold and things like that great. Secondly, Eric Schmidt, I'm not sure
Yeah.
if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but Eric
Correct. Yeah.
Schmidt, who was the CEO of Google, recently became an advisor to Chainlink and now will be working full time in Web3. He also unfollowed Sundar Pichai and now is following these Web3 folks and trying to
Oh.
chill with them, have fun with them and things like that. So really, this is whenever, I'm not saying this will create Web 3.0 or this will make the adoption be live in Web 3.0. But these kind of things, the people who are in Web 2, if they can understand that Web 3 is more than that, it's always helpful for our beliefs. Third, Moxie. Moxie, he's one of the I'm not sure if you heard about Signal, which is a more privacy focused WhatsApp. It's more private, but form of WhatsApp. Very popular messenger app in the western part of the world, not so much in India because we don't focus on privacy that much. So Signal's founder Moxie, he made an awesome post about Web3 and his realization. There was some kind of healthy criticism. He also was looking forward to seeing what it goes and what it believes in. He posted that and then left the position of the CEO of Signal. So again, one good thing that okay, these pioneers of Web 2 who developed so many good apps are leaving their awesome positions in Web 2, their developments and related things in Web 2, and moving towards Web 3. Another and one of the all we know, Facebook has pivoted its model from the Facebook kind of Web 2 kind of advertisement related thing to a metaverse experience, and they are working towards that. Soon we'll see a lot of things going around there. One last thing, and what I believe can be very big and not that much known about, like all these things that I shared were known to the community and people, but one thing that's not known and it's very not that much pronounced right now, is that Microsoft just brought Activision Blizzard, right, for $70 billion. Activision
Oh,
Blizzard is the organization behind, lots and lots of popular games. If you just Google it out, it's the most famous place where people go and play. Like, it's the organization behind, I guess, games. I'm just searching the number of the games which are a part of it. Like, it's Call of Duty, right? Call of Duty, Spider-Man, all these popular games are under Activision Blizzard, was acquired by Microsoft, and Call of Duty was eventually moving towards the Web3 focused metaversial, build and earn, play and earn kind of economy with Web3. So it's very, I think Microsoft is also slowly and steadily getting into the Web3 space with gaming as its first focus. So I would say, lots and lots of awesome signals that the world is giving us in believing in the Web3 ecosystem. And I think it's the right time. Like, it's I won't say never, but now or you are late. Then you will, enter the saturation markets, and then there will be problems.
yeah. In fact, in India,
So
Pranav, we are getting good motivation. Mukesh Ambani is showing good promises in the blockchain technology. So last month there was an interview, and he is very bullish on blockchain. So maybe soon in Reliance or Geo, we can expect some blockchain thing happening. And once
definitely.
he start with that, other companies will also follow. So yeah, we are on the right track.
Definitely. He also was, talking about some kind of decentralized financial ecosystem. This, Reliance right now controls about 25% of, Nifty. That means it controls a very good part of Indian economy. And if the chairman of such a big company is believing in this ecosystem, then, there are always speculations that DeFi is fraud. There is a chance that Indian government will totally ban it. It does, give us a little more assurance that there is a chance that we will also start looking at it in a much much more progressive manner, right? So yeah,
Right.
lots and lots of good things happening. And yeah, let's I'm very bullish on Web3, and I think this is the time you should all be, going through this channel, understanding the core crux. We have already covered about Ethereum. Today we are going to cover about the future of what Ethereum has to be. Like, when Ethereum was developed in back in 2015,
Yeah,
already it
before we
had
get
some.
started, I have something for the audience. So everyone, if you are watching this, doesn't matter which platform, make sure that you hit that like button, because that's how we know that you are actively watching this. And also let us know from which place you are watching in the chat. And to know, while they're doing it, we have a question from Achyut. Hi sir, can you please show one small demo application in Web 3.0? Do we have any plan of doing that, Pranav?
Sure,
Can
I
we
can
show them
show
some
one.
example? May not be today, if we can
I
plan a
can I can
session.
For sure, I can, make a transaction happen on, let's say, an application like QuickSwap, right? That should not be a big problem. So yeah,
Okay,
I'll make that happen. Don't worry.
sure.
So yeah,
Great.
don't worry. We can do a transaction on Web3, maybe, trade something on QuickSwap Dex or something like that. Yeah.
Mhm.
If you want, I can do it right now.
No, maybe we can do it later. Let's
Let's.
plan something. Maybe a coding
Yeah,
session
yeah.
as well. So even we can
Sure,
collaborate and do one coding session on it.
sure. We
Great.
can
Yeah,
show
we
a
continue,
finished
please, sir.
application. Yeah. All right. So, as I told you about Ethereum 2.0 is what we are going to discuss today. So we discussed about Ethereum as an open blockchain, as a platform, as a de facto, or like one of the important platforms for decentralizing different things in the application layer. It's like an application layer to make, different what we call as apps, but on the Ethereum. It's like, internet, just above internet there is Ethereum, and on Ethereum as a decentralized layer you can create different applications, and if they have other prospects they become decentralized in nature, which is like really awesome, and creates the token economics and the ownership economy, and promotes that. Because Ethereum was so important and it had much more applications than Bitcoin could ever have, it definitely had some issues, right? Bitcoin was only made to decentralize money, right? While Ethereum is a generalized platform to decentralize whatever we want to do. So we discussed the pros of Ethereum. We discussed different applications built on Ethereum. And then in the previous episode, we discussed what are the problems that are associated to Ethereum and that were well known to the Ethereum community back in 2016-17 itself, like just 1 or 2 years from Ethereum, Ethereum launch. And so they did plan an Ethereum 2.0 like kind of thing in which there'll be upgradations. So today we'll be discussing about the Ethereum 2.0, right? The first thing, or the most important thing that currently is the Ethereum 2.0 is the Ethereum currently is facing the Ethereum 1.0. The current form of Ethereum that we have is scalability. It's like we can do 15 transactions per second, and if you think that internet is going to be mainstream with Ethereum, just imagine how many transactions we require per second. It is much it has to be much more scalable. It's like at least we have to go for what currently Mastercard and Visa, which is like 10,000 transactions per second, are doing, right? We should at least touch that and even go further, because we are talking about even higher adoption of the ecosystem. So like scalability in the current model with 15 transactions per second, which if there are, let's say, 15 transactions that can happen per second, and there are 100 transactions that have to have per second, because there is like a big queue that has been created, then the transactions that are picked are the transactions which are paying high gas, right? Which are paying high amount of transactions and the transaction fees. And that is the big problem. For example, if I want to do a transaction today on Ethereum network, let's say I want to swap my coin, let's say USDT with Ethereum, I'll have to pay something around $100 to make that happen. Why? Because for 15 transactions, and then there are 10,000 people waiting to be a part of that queue, it is always you have to pay extra in terms of tip to make that happen. And that's why scalability and unaffordability is the biggest problem in the Ethereum ecosystem right now. Just imagine when Ethereum has its its moment, what we call as its moment where it is totally being used by the it is the execution layer of the world where all the transactions are happening. Can we expect Ethereum to only go for 15 transactions and do $100 or $200 per transaction? That's not possible. So definitely Ethereum scalability is a big problem. Ethereum affordability, which comes as a as a free package with scalability, is a big problem in the current Ethereum 1.0 ecosystem, and that is going to be solved by something, a concept known as sharding. We'll be going into deep aesthetics of what sharding is, what database sharding is, how do you distribute database and make that happen. But scalability issue of Ethereum 1.0 is gonna be solved by Ethereum 2.0 with this concept of database sharding. Just remember that. So we are discussing the issues of Ethereum 1.0, which are gonna be solved by Ethereum 2.0, and the concepts we are using to make that sharding happen. All right. So scaling Ethereum is a big problem, which is gonna be solved by the sharding mechanism. All right. Secondly, the second thing is currently there is a problem of sustainability. What that means is that in the current proof of work ecosystem, there are about 5,000 validators that validate a transaction. That make a transaction happen in the current proof of work ecosystem. How it works is that, let's say there are 5,000 people that are trying to find a particular block number, right? One block, one particular computer or one particular validator will be able to find that number, and rest 4,999 computation power is lost. What that means is that it is highly inefficient, right? Let's say to make a blockchain work through consensus, you require something the numbers to find a number, right? It's a magic number. It's like it will take some time. If you have not understood what proof of work is, I would suggest you to go ahead and check our previous videos. But in general, to make a blockchain work, to be in consensus and have the next that block in the blockchain and progress the database, you always require the next block to be added, and that block is added by the person who wins, right? A particular puzzle, and there are 5,000 validators or 5,000 miners who are trying to win that puzzle, because you're rewarded for the same. So out of 5,000 people, only one is able to find the result of the puzzle, rest 4,999 requests to make something happen are all gone in vain. Just imagine, for every block that is added in every 15 seconds, 4,999 computational power is lost. And that is, computational power is nothing but electricity, right? If you are having a validator or a miner mining a particular transaction, it's like you are burning electricity. So after every, if you do just simple math, after every 5,000 people, your electricity is going to be used. Like it's one of the most inefficient systems to make a blockchain progress. It's very unsustainable, and that is the reason why many countries, because electricity is a big issue, you have to burn a lot of, it's not environmental friendly right now for most part to have to produce electricity. And if we are wasting electricity just to have Ethereum mined, and even it's not efficient, as I told you, it is very much not taken into consideration, because uh, as per world leaders, as per United Nations, sustainability is a very big goal in 2050. We want all to be have green energy, and we should not be wasting energy and things like that. Sustainable development goals are really high, and Ethereum does not follow that right now. Similarly, Bitcoin does not follow that right now because of proof of work. And that is also one of the reasons that to have more sustainability, more environmental friendliness, and to not to not what we call as waste the computational power. Ethereum is changing from proof of work consensus mechanism to proof of stake consensus mechanism. How are they doing that? Beacon chain. All right. So just like a quick recap, there are two problems currently that are really well pronounced in the Ethereum 1.0 ecosystem. One is scaling Ethereum, right? That exists, and that is being solved by sharding as a concept, as well as there is like roll-ups and side chains being developed to make that scalability a reality. Also, data availability is going to solve that. Secondly, sustainability is a big problem. Environmental friendliness with proof of work is a big problem, and the proof of work to proof of stake beacon chain is going to solve that, right? So I hope you have understood these basic concepts, and now we are going to go deep and understand what is sharding, what is beacon chain, and how Ethereum is thinking of implementing that. To be honest, Ethereum predicted that this sharding will take place in 2017 itself. There'll be database sharding, and it will be much more scalable by 2017. But because Ethereum currently is running on such a big, it is currently having like $1 trillion of value stored in itself. You cannot just make an update in such a way, like a system update of $1 trillion with database sharding, which can be risky, is was not very well pronounced. It was gonna be like 256 shards are gonna be created and things like that with the beacon chain, but that did not happen, right? So yeah, definitely there is a delay in the update from Ethereum 1.0 to 2.0, and there are lots and lots of updates that have been done. First, initially, the Ethereum ecosystem thought that okay, what we'll have is we'll have sharding with beacon with 256 shards. We'll have beacon chain, right, which will solve all the Ethereum 1.0 purposes. But now that's not the case. We're gonna have beacon chain, which is one of the most priorities, and you can see it by 2022 mid June or something like that. But the sharding aspect to scale Ethereum is changed in a very very good manner. People think that there'll be like a multiversal, not a monolithic blockchain, but rather a multitudinal ecosystem in which rollups and things like Polygon and MATIC as side chains and commit chains will be helping Ethereum to scale, not just sharding, right? So we'll be going in deep details to understand this concept of beacon chain and sharding.
Yeah, so before we go ahead, we have a question for you from Amber. What will happen to the projects like MATIC, which are working on the similar resolution?
Right. So as
So
I told you,
once
right?
Ethereum is here, in fact, so at the start of this year, last year, there are a lot of promises from different platforms like Solana, like which is the Ethereum killer. And now one Ethereum 2.0 is here. Again, the other blockchain will struggle. So what will happen to those blockchains, especially MATIC?
Definitely. It's like, you can say it's a great question, Amberji. And I can tell you, okay, so Ethereum 1.0 to Ethereum 2.0 scaling was gonna be done by this concept of sharding, of 256 shards being created, and doing the execution as well as data availability for a blockchain to make that happen. But because I mean but that did not happen, because it was taken that 256 blocks, 256 shards will not be able to make things work, and it might be having some security issues. Plus, sharding on a decentralized database is the toughest thing in the world, I would say, in the database world, right? So definitely it was considered that sharding will solve it, but with a new roadmap that Ethereum has come up with, it will be a mix of sharding and these side chains and these roll-ups. So Matic Polygon is building this ecosystem of scaling Ethereum with zero knowledge, POS chain that they have, a zero knowledge chain that they are launching, and things like that, which will do the execution, right? But the final commitment will happen on Ethereum. So it will be like the security will be taken care by Ethereum, while the execution to scale Ethereum will be taken care by things like Matic, Polygon, Arbitrum, Optimism, and things like that. So it's a great question. And also, because of this, we have considered rollups to be a way to scale Ethereum from 256 shards. The Ethereum community has settled to have shards only 64, to have more guarantees for decentralization.
Nice.
On and your second question related to Ethereum killers, I would
Yeah.
definitely say Solana doesn't want to position itself as Ethereum killer. So they are what we have to achieve as an ultimatum, I would say, is decentralization, right? That is what we want to go for eventually. And to go for decentralization, there are different system designs that we have taken to achieve, or reach there. Ethereum has taken one, proof of work to proof of stake, beacon chain, sharding, and decentralized 5,000 validator kind of approach to make that happen. Solana, however, is a different system design. It believes in this new concept of proof of history as a consensus mechanism, 600 validators, quick block production, and things like that to achieve the same goal. So I would say, it's like a mall, right? And in a mall, there are different shops. So if you want to buy something in sports, you might go to Adidas. If you want to buy something in casuals, you might go to Van Heusen or something like that. So similarly, if your particular application requires more decentralization, you'll have to pay extra, right? If you're doing like 1 crore rupee transaction, you will be doing it in a much more decentralized blockchain like Ethereum. But if you want to do a transaction or do something like an application layer, which is very fast, and it is very fast and can achieve much higher transaction throughput, and its transaction fees is less, then I would say you would go for something like Solana, right? So it's like different blockchains have different use cases, and we are definitely going to move towards a multi-blockchain future for sure.
Great. I don't think any other question which we can. Okay, there's one
Right.
question from Ranjit.
Where Ethereum 2.0 upgradation will be telecasted. It's like there is a community known as Ethereum magician, right? So because it's not like a centralized company where the 12 people take a decision and then it is considered and announced. It's like a protocol, right? So there is a Ethereum organization, a governance body, which launches EIP. What is the EIP? EIP is Ethereum. Let me just give you the right Ethereum improvement proposal or
Improvement
something
process.
like.
Yeah.
Yeah, EIPs are Ethereum improvement proposals. So if let's say Vitalik believes in having EIP 1559, so he will make a proposal, right? So he made a proposal, and the proposal's version was EIP 1559, right? Similarly, if somebody has to make 256 shards, he has to make a proposal, right? To EIP XYZ ABC, whatever the number of the proposal, and that is considered by the community and then taken care of. Similarly, when there is a change from the current proof of work blockchain to a proof of stake beacon chain blockchain, right? There'll be a proposal. There is already a proposal, and there are certain dates to match that. But that keeps on changing with new proposals and things like that. So it is all governed by proposals, right?
Great.
We should like now try to discuss. Okay, one more question.
Yeah, one more question.
What will happen to old Ethereum token when the new version? Okay, this is a great question, and I would like to take that in the what I'm explaining, right? With the beacon
Okay.
chain, it's gonna come up, right? So, anyways, moving forward with the sharding database, right? So, to have a sharded like what's a sharded database in a centralized system? It's like instead of one database, there are XYZ number of databases created which are a part of that database. If that what that means is, let's say a database had 10 MB of data, yeah, has like 16 MBs of data. Instead of having one database, you would have 16 databases which have one MBs of data. And if a particular thing is going, then it will go in, let's say, shard one, right? Then shard two, then shard three. So you can do parallel computations, right? Again, try let's go a little deeper. What is sharding in databases? If there is one database which has like a very big data structure or database with 16, let's say, MBs of data, and you want to do parallel computation right now with the 16 MBs of data, you cannot do that, right? You will have to, like, for example, if something has to be inserted in the database, it's like it will be in a queue, right? Always, it will be always sequential. But in computation, in computing, if you want to go faster, you always go for parallel computations, right? So that's where the sharding of database was considered. Instead of 16 MB database, you have 1 MB databases to make that happen. All right. And that's what, releases parallelism. What that means is that, if execution has to happen, a write has to happen in a database, it can happen in the first, right? If 16 writes have to happen, they can happen in 16 databases, right? That makes the database 16 times faster. Naveen, do you want to like explain even deeper as to what sharded database is?
As of now, I'm not good with that, so maybe I should prepare content.
For sure,
In
but
fact,
like this is
there are more content on the way for the blockchain. So from next month, first week of February, you will see the series on blockchain from scratch.
whoa
It's in the planning
announcement.
now. Yeah, we
Alpha
have to
leak,
plug.
alpha.
Yeah, Alpha Lake.
Awesome. So, like, just letting you know, this is what is sharding in databases, right? In general, databases sharded into 16, right? If a write has to happen instead of one database interaction, 16, we have 16 databases, which are the sub part of that one databases and make that particular operation 16 times faster. All right. So what this new database like Ethereum, you can say, is a linked list. What is a linked list? Linked list is a data structure. In a way, it stores transactions that happen on the Ethereum network, right? And in a way, it's like a database. Okay, but what's the difference? It's not a centralized database, it's a distributed decentralized database. Okay, so instead of one person having the data, it's like, oh, how many validators are there? There are those many like databases, all are in sync, all are together. That's where we come our consensus. Okay, when we go for sharding in database, if it is centralized, we just distribute the database. Okay, but because it's in a distributed decentralized database, you will go for as many data structures and as many people who are involved in this particular thing. What that also essentially means is that instead of having for example, if currently in Ethereum there'll be 64 shards created, there'll be 64. For example, if currently the database of Ethereum, which is ever growing, currently is 1 trillion, it is distributed accordingly, right? Into 64 shards. That database is distributed into 64 shards, right? And the validators currently, if let's say there were 64 validators on Ethereum, I'm just trying to make numbers easy, it will be distributed as well. 64 will be people will be taking care of 64 databases. If there are 128, two people will be taking care of one shard. Okay, that's what sharded blockchains are. If you want, I can also explain you in Google Jam a little. Whenever I'm that kind of person. If I don't get confidence in your learning, then I keep explaining again and again. I'm creating a Google Jam board. So currently there is one database. right? This is one single database which takes care of all the reads. If you want to read from the database, you do it. If you want to read from the database, you do it from this database. If you want to write, you do it from this database. Okay. If there are, let's say, 16 people who are trying to write, it will all be sequential, right? Which will make the operation 16 times, like it will be a queue. Okay. Now, instead of one database, there are like 16 segments done of the same database. Then, if you want to write, you can write here, then second person can write here, third person can write here, fourth person can write here, right? And 16 times it becomes faster. Here there was a queue, here it's like parallel computation happening. Okay. That's what sharding in a centralized database means. Now, Ethereum, there are, let's say, there are four validators. Okay. Everybody has a database. Okay. And all of them are in sync. So whenever there is a new database, like for example, if there is a new block, he adds it. The other people also add it with the same transaction. Okay. This is the database that's added. This is also known as blockchain, right? A linked list structure or a blockchain. Okay. So now what happens is that if we have to shard this kind of database, if you have to shard this kind of database, so you have to, like, if you have to create four shards of this kind of database, you will have to divide the validators as well as the database. This will be D1, this will be D2, this will be D3, this will be D4, right? Whenever first transaction happens, these people take care of. Second transaction happens, these people take care of it. Third transaction happens, these, and fourth transaction happens, these people take care of it. Instead of four, if there are 8 validators, two people will take care of this, two people will take care of this, two people will take care of this, and two people will take care of this particular database. Okay. So what happens is that if there are 8 people, right? 8 people and a new, and it's like Ethereum 1.0, then what had to happen? There were like 8 people trying to compute the same block. Okay. With, and one could succeed, 7 computation gone in vain. Now what happens is that there are only 2 people competing for a particular transaction. Okay. Only one computation gone in vain. The second one is not gone in vain, which makes the computation very, very fast as well. Okay. So one transaction happens here, 2 people compete for it, one wins. Second transaction happens here, 2 people compete for it, one wins. Third transaction happens here, 2 people compete for it, one wins. And fourth transaction happens here, 2 people compete for it, and only one wins. What that leads to is what we call as, first of all, like, this is parallel computation, and the amount of computation you had to waste for 4 transactions initially in ETH 1.0. 1.0 was 4 into 8 people, right? Which was 32. All right. My maths. Now, in ETH 2.0, in ETH 2.0, four, how many, for doing 4 transactions, only 8 computations are done. How much more efficient it is in just 4 shards, right? And how much more faster it is. It is 4 times more faster, right? To making that particular thing happen. I hope you have understood this basic concept. So this is what is the scaling strategy of Ethereum to scale it, scale the Ethereum 1.0 database, right? For more data availability. All right. So instead of 4 shards that I showed you, there will be 64 shards created. And there was this question that, Khalid asked, that what will happen to the current blockchain? It will be just one of the shards. The Ethereum 1.0 database is just one of the shards, and the rest 63 shards will come up with it, right? That's the current scaling mechanism, and that's the current way sharding will happen, and that's why it is taking so much time. All right. So the current Ethereum token, what will happen to it? It will remain the same. The current, blockchain, the current database that Ethereum is created, what will happen to that? That will be one of the 64 shards that exist. How much more scalable or how much more data availability parallel computation will happen to Ethereum? It will be 64 times more. How much more decentralized it will be? It will be the same decentralized. Why? Because if there are, like, for example, if currently there are 5,000 validators, they go inside one particular shard, right? In the current prospect, right? If like if the mechanism was like, one particular chain is divided into 64 shards, then it would be 64 times less decentralized. But because with this new concept and new theory, one shard will be taking care of these 5,000 validators. Just imagine, like, it will be as decentralized as Ethereum 1.0, 64 times more, 64 times more, like, computationally heavy. Less power will be consumed to make that happen, as well as 64 times less, like, compute more computation friendly, as well as 64 times more parallel computations, 64 times more efficient. So that's the role of sharding, and that's why it is taking so much amount of time. It's computationally like a very tough problem to solve. Decentralized prospects in sharding, database sharding in centralized prospects is also very tough, right? Because you have to decide, if one transaction happens, which shard should take care of it, right? But once that is done, in centralized databases, it is currently possible. You will find lots and lots of GitHub codes to see centralized database sharding. But decentralized sharding is the first time ever it's happening in the decentralized databases, and that's what Ethereum is trying to do, right? I hope this also solves Khalid's question and also gives you a brief of what sharding will be achieving.
Yeah, just to
Naveen?
add to that Khalid question, we have a new question from Khalid. So sharding is something we perform on a centralized data center. Ethereum is P2P network. How does sharding work on Ethereum? See, ultimately, all this network has data, right? So whenever you store data, it doesn't matter is it centralized, decentralized, it's a database. So yeah, so in the Ethereum network as well, we will be doing the sharding on the distributed databases.
Definitely, right? And also one more thing is, like, when Ethereum 2.0's roadmap was launched, it was said that the sharding, like the sharded databases, will be having the data as well, and will be also doing the execution of a particular transaction. But right now, only data availability part will be available on the sharding. Execution will only be done by one particular shard. Okay. What that means is that the rest 63 shards will only be used as sharded databases. They'll not be used for execution. What does a blockchain do currently? It does execution as well as data availability, as well as, like, I'm forgetting the right term, but it also does something known as execution, right? Execution, data availability, and settlement. Okay. Third is settlement. Okay. In the sharded databases, in the 64 shards, 63 will only be doing data availability. One will be the one that currently Ethereum exists, will be doing execution as well as data availability. However, it was considered back in 2017 that execution will also be done by these 64 shards, right? So there is a big conflict right now in the Ethereum ecosystem. Some believe that these 64 people, 64 shards should be doing execution as well as data availability. But the rest of the people, including Vitalik Buterin, who was the founder of Ethereum, says that execution should be done by one particular shard. The rest should only be available for data availability, and the execution scaling should be taken care of by these new solutions like Arbitrum, Optimism, Polygon, ZK, words that they are creating and things like that. So it's really exciting times for Ethereum, and it is solving all the problems we discussed in the past. And just imagine, if you are building a protocol, it is much more, like, intensive, computationally intensive to make that thing happen. Okay. For example, let's discuss. Naveen, you also might be knowing HTTP, HTTPS, right? These are protocols. How much time it took for these particular, like, protocols to develop? Very, very long time, right? Email, how much time it took for email to, like, as a protocol to TCP/IP protocols and things like that to develop. It takes a very long time for these kind of protocols to develop, right? However, applications built on them, for example, Messenger, right? It is so easy and so fast to, like, make changes in Messenger. There is Snapchat, then there is Signal, then there is WhatsApp, then there is Instagram, right? Every day we are seeing updation and things like that in the Messenger ecosystem. But protocols, the application layer is easy to change. The protocols, they take a very long time. And initially, back in 1990s, Protocol development was a public good. What that means is that it was not even incentivized. If somebody was doing it, it was for the good of the world, but it was not that much incentivized. But with Ethereum and the ETH token, that problem is solved, and that's why these Ethereum protocols and related stuff is moving much more faster. So bless the god. It's torrent, but with an incentivized model to make decentralization happen. So I hope the sharded database thing is clear. We'll be covering the beacon chain part today as well, and then closing it off. But I hope there are two problems. Again, recapping, there are two problems that currently exist in the Ethereum ecosystem that Ethereum 2.0 will be solving. The first one is scaling Ethereum, that is going to be solved by a mix of what we call as roll up and sharding in databases, and it's far fetched. Okay, is sharding gonna come in 2022? The answer is no. Okay, so it's gonna take a little longer than that to make that happen. Okay, and the second one is the sustainability problem, the computational heaviness that exists in the Ethereum ecosystem, making because of proof of work and the environmental non-friendliness because of the proof of work consensus mechanism that exists, which is causing the beacon chain proof thing to which is causing the issue, which is being solved with the Ethereum 2.0, changing from proof of work to proof of stake with this new chain or this new update known as the beacon chain update. All right, and we have already discussed sharding. The second thing we are going to discuss is the beacon chain. All right, so beacon chain, it's like moving from proof of work consensus mechanism to proof of stake consensus mechanism. It is moving from miners to validators. All right, what happens in proof of work, it's like a very tough problem, a very tough number that people have to guess, right? They do some computations, these miners do some computation, and they find a result. That number is that particular thing. However, when you are doing this proof of stake, it's not like that. It's not like miners, it's rather validators, right? What they do is they stake their Ethereum, their asset, they stake their Ethereum, right? And based on their stake percentage, right, there is a good probability that uh, they'll be getting a chance to validate or mine the next block. All right, again, let's get back to our very own uh, Google Jamboard to understand this proof of stake thing. So in proof of stake, what happens is that, let's say, there is like, again, just for simplicity I'm doing it. Okay, there is like five people. Okay, there is like 10 people. One has 10 people. Okay, and one person has contributed 2 Ethereum. Okay, one person has contributed 1 Ethereum. Let's say there are five people. Okay, one person has contributed 0.5 Ethereum. One person has contributed 0.25 Ethereum, like contributed as in staked. Okay, staked. And fifth person has contributed 0.125 Ethereum, contributed as in staked. This is the value. So what happens is that this person's probability to mine the next block is twice as higher as the person one, 4 times as higher as this person, 8 times as higher as this person, and 16 times as higher as this person. Okay, that does not mean that he'll always mine the block. The probability to mine a particular block will be as higher. Okay, so he controls, like, if we just calculate, he controls like 20%. Let's say, person one controls 20% of like the block that can be produced. The chances of him mining the next block is 20%. Like, 20% of the blocks will be mined by him. That's like probabilistic, and that's what proof of stake is, right? So as per probability, they are given the chance to mine the next block. So if this person has like 20% probability, he'll be mining every fifth block. Okay, just as an example, I've not done the real calculation. If he has 20% probability, he'll be mining every fifth block. Okay, and other people will just be validating that his block is correct. Now, this solves the problem of what proof of work had the issue, right? All these five people had to compute the next block. Here, it's like given that 20% of the blocks will be mined by this person, and this will be taken care of by this person. Okay, so this is how this problem of beacon chain is being solved. This problem or this movement of proof of work to proof of stake is being solved by validators, right? So what is proof of work? Finding a number, right? And that's miners find it by running computational heavy computations. Validators mine the proof of stake blockchain. They stake something, some tokens, that is Ethereum, and based on their stake, their probability of mining the next block is decided, and it is much more environmental friendly. And that's why proof of stake is considered to be the next way, or next way how blockchains should work, because governments will not allow the misuse or non-sustainable development of electricity, which is not going to be solved by proof of work blockchain, right? So that's how it is going to be. One good news is that the current chain is the proof of work chain, right? And a new beacon chain is already been formed.
Okay, I think Pranav has lost the network. Okay, by the time Pranav is back, let me just get some questions. Okay, so there was a question from Khalid about the whales, right? Yeah, so that's the thing, right? Rich always get richer, but yes, as Amber mentioned, if they do any malicious work, they will be out of the network, right? So don't worry about it. So by the time, yeah. So basically, I'll be coming up with the blockchain part again. Currently, I'm focusing on Hyperledger Fabric. So there are multiple courses on the way. One is the NoSQL course. Excited about that one, and the blockchain one. Yes. So Amber, that's the thing. Should I will I be covering Solidity or Rust? Okay. So basically, for Hyperledger Fabric, we'll be using JavaScript or Java or Go language. Again, that is not fixed yet. Once I come back to the public blockchain, mostly Ethereum, of course, for that, I'll be using Solidity. I also want to explore Solana. It's just that I'm thinking I'm not getting enough time to do all those things. There are so many things I want to do. But yes, if once I start once I start with Solana, I will be using Rust. But again, should I go for Solana? Should I go for Polkadot? There are so many technologies which is there to learn, right? So I'm not sure which one I will be choosing. Okay, Angular with blockchain. Not exactly. Angular is a front end, right? But yes, you can build a front end for the blockchain technology. Blockchain works on the back end, and you can use Angular for the front end. Yeah, if Pranav is not able to join, we'll continue next week with EIP 115
So it's two things we covered today. One is sharded database, and second is beacon chain, right? Tomorrow, the next time when we meet, the next week, we are gonna cover like whatever was left today, because like there are some technical issues, but more of it is, I guess, covered. One is the beacon chain, and the second is the sharding database, that's covered. What we'll be doing is the docking part, which is left, which
Yeah,
is where everything comes to, like the mix. Like that's where we are at the internet's next level, internet's next stage, or the revolution.
right. If we can do it in next 10 minutes, that's fine. You are audible and the video looks good now.
Oh, it looks good.
Yeah. Yes, Amber will be. So the idea is to do this session every week. Last week we missed it because I was not feeling well. I'm still not 100%, but I thought let's why to waste much more time. Anyway, Pranav is going to do much of the talking, so we're doing a session today, and Pranav is back. Pranav, that's
Okay.
fine. No, again, we are losing the network. Maybe we can do that
uh,
next week itself.
okay, like I have changed the wi-fi, still like the
Oh,
image
is it?
quality is back. Yeah.
No, this is good now. This is good.
Okay. Yeah, so just to like recap everything. uh, Thank you, sir. You guided blockchain and supply chain at Odisha. Oh my God, that's way back. That's like really back in time, 4 years back. At that time, when I
Oh,
used to like go in these hackathons, people didn't knew about blockchain and Web3, and how much adoption it has got now. Since then,
right.
had been advocating blockchain. So yeah, it feels great. Thanks for like thanks for like big shout out. So it means a lot. Anyways, just to recap what we discussed, one is the sharding in Ethereum 2.2, which is going to solve the problem of execution with the roll-up centric roadmap that Ethereum has, which is going to solve the problem of data availability plus this concept of data availability plus execution. Secondly, there was this concept of beacon chain, which is a new chain which is developed, which has the proof of stake thing, which has validators and not miners, and everything else, that is smart contract and everything else, remains the same. That has already been spun up. You might also see beacon chain scan. If you I'm gonna give you the link, beacon chain scan. So it's like a new chain that's spun up which has miners, not validators, and is proof of stake, and everything else is the same. Naveen, I've pasted the link. If you can just like people can see it, so you can just post it somewhere.
Yeah, sure.
So it's like Etherscan, but eventually in just 6 months, Ethereum is going to move from its current chain to this new beacon chain, right? And this beacon chain will have proof of stake, right, as the consensus mechanism, and this is going to happen very, very quick and fast. So very excited about this. Second thing, what really excites people is that with proof of stake, there are any downsides of proof of stake. Yes, it's not that decentralized as proof of work, because there might be validators who have much bigger, higher stake that can stake into Ethereum. Currently, to become a validator, you need to have 32 Ethereum, but there are few exchanges like Binance and Kraken, and all these people who have taken a very big stake in the new beacon chain rollout, and they are going to be like one of the prime block producers, right? What we call as the whales of the block producers in the Ethereum, which is one of the downtimes. But as I told you, right, Ethereum is a everyday developing, Web 3.0 is a everyday developing thing, and it might take like some time to be there, but we are all gonna make it. WGMI, which is a very famous quote in Web 3.0, hashtag WGMI. So that was it. Okay, sharding and beacon chain. When sharding and beacon chain both happen, and we have the Ethereum 2.0 being there, that particular phase is known as docking. Okay, I'm just giving you this terminology because people in the Ethereum community use it.
Okay, we again lost Pranav there. So we got a question from Wasim. What will all the miners do with those graphic cards? Just to keep it on a light note, maybe install games, play the games, and or maybe sell it and buy some ETHs, or maybe give it to me. I will build a play. I will build a station for my editing work. So recently, I upgraded to a new graphic card. I forgot the number. Is it 3080?
Okay, so like I have a really shaky network. I don't, but that's basically what I wanted to say. Next week we are going to recap about the what we discussed today. That is phase 0, phase 1, phase 1.5, and then phase 2 of Ethereum. Whatever I have taught today will be recapped tomorrow, but like it will just be 5 minutes, and then we are going to discuss EIP 1559, which is one of the most exciting things. It is going to make Ethereum as an asset deflationary. This concept of if you stable money and things like that. So if you are into like Ethereum trading and things like that, that really excites people. So a really good concept of VIP 1559 coming next week. Given that Naveen and me both are good in health,
Yeah,
we are gonna have.
right. So pray for us so that we'll be in a good health so that we can take these live sessions. Great. Thank you so much, Pranav, for this awesome session on Ethereum 2.0. Next week, we're excited for EIP 1559. And yeah, that's it from this session. If you liked, make sure that you click on the like button. If you can follow us on LinkedIn, and I guess Pranav is very famous on Twitter, so you can follow him on Twitter as well. Great. See you in the next session. Bye bye, everyone. Take care.